Hey guys. So I initially recorded a whole, I think, hour-long video of my deck collection, and then I hadn't posted it yet, and then the lovely Heather Carter had been posting her deck collection videos, but she kind of broke them up, and I thought that was a better way to go. So she inspired me to redo this. But you are all none the wiser. Either way, I just wanted to let you guys know that there will be videos coming out kind of sporadically of my deck collection, and I'm just going to be filming them and posting them when I get to them. But this is the first half for my tarot collection. There's going to be 3 videos for my tarot collection and 2 for my oracle. So this is the first one, and I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 decks. I probably should have counted before I recorded, but whatever, here we go. So I thought this would be a little bit easier. Alright, we'll get right into it. The first deck is the Totoro Tarot. This is by Stacia Burlington, I think is how you say her name. She is a Pacific Northwest artist, so one of my people. And I have been aware of this deck for quite some time. I got it last summer, but I think I'd known about it for like a year before that. But it is one that I wasn't entirely sure how I'd feel about the artwork, to be truthfully honest. But I really, really enjoy it, honestly. And it was definitely a deck that pleasantly surprised me. I think for the sheer amount of human emotion that is portrayed in this deck. So I tend to go to it when I'm feeling very raw. And the guidebook is fantastic. She does such a wonderful job talking about her interpretations of the cards and why she chose to illustrate what she did, which I love when artists do that. So I'm very, very pleased with this deck, and it is a very job well done. Perfect deck for self-healing, in my opinion. So once again, that is the Totoro Tarot. I took the liberty of getting all of these decks out of boxes and bags, so you guys wouldn't hear me fumble. The next deck is one that I just mentioned in my last video, which is the Solaris Tarot. I did want to do a separate video on this deck completely, so I'll probably only flip through a few images here. But this is by Elithian, or she's also known as the Virgo Witch on Etsy. This is a deck that I pre-ordered. It is a Star Wars themed deck, and I am a Star Wars nerd. Here's the backs, if you can see. And I love it. Her artwork is so, so pretty. And it is just beautiful. It's a very, very, like, high quality deck, too. I mean, it's just so soft and velvety, and her artwork is so beautiful. I just can't get over how beautiful it is. So this is definitely a nerd deck for me, but I just love it, and I really am in love with her style. So yeah, that is called the Solaris Tarot. The next one is an indie deck that is out of print, but it will be coming to mass market. So I just wanted to preference that first before I got into it. This is the Dark Goddess Tarot. I got this last year. This is another one where I wasn't really sure about the artwork. I was wondering if I got that backwards. Yes, I do. Sorry, guys. This was another one where I wasn't really sure about the artwork. But I actually like, and I don't mean to say this in a negative sense, but I am going to use the word simplicity to it. I actually think that that is a really, really fantastic way to portray these goddesses, and the artwork has completely grown on me. This deck is very special to me. It is everything I wanted in a goddess deck. And I had the Goddess Tarot by Chris Walder. I've had it for a long time. I actually ended up just trading it over this last year. And I just never used it. And this one I use all the time. I absolutely love it. It is so wonderful. It is coming to mass market, I think, in the fall. And I know you can pre-order it on Amazon right now. My one thing about the indie version The only problem I have with this deck is that it is very long, and even though I have long fingers, I cannot shuffle overhand with this deck unless I do it this way, and then I kind of throw cards everywhere. But other than that, I love this deck. It is a very spiritual deck for me. Speaking of another deck that is very spiritual, and another one I really didn't think I would like, I actually completely refused getting this deck for quite some time until it just kept coming into my life. No matter what I did, it kept coming into my life. And that is the Muriel. I have the weird first printing of the second edition that's got like the really weird black edging. But this was gifted to me by a friend, and it's very special to me, so I am not complaining. This deck is one that you need to absolutely read the guidebook for. And it's totally worth it, but it is definitely a trip, and it is really deep. I specifically use this deck for shadow work, and I don't use it for anything else. And I really love it. I really do. This is one that took me by complete surprise. I did not think I would like it. I will say I like the Old Judgment card, though. This is one of the cards that was changed in the second edition, and I don't care for it. But, yeah, I am very, very grateful to have this deck. It has been very helpful for me in my shadow work practice specifically, and that's what it wanted to do. That's why it wanted to be in my life, and that's why it kept telling me that it needed to be. It's just one of those very synchronistic situations. The next up is the Star Tarot. This one is trimmed and edged. I need to do a second coat on the edging, which you will notice, but I edged it in kind of this dark blue to match the backs. I also wrote the titles on. It used to have these huge borders on it. You guys have all seen, or if you guys have seen this deck, you definitely know. But this one is coming out with a second edition. I don't think it's going to be glossy. I don't think it's going to have borders, as far as my understanding. I know that the pre-orders are up now as well. This deck is really spiritual. There's a lot to sink in with it. And there are some cards that I actually just feel very comforted by. Like, they kind of remind me of my childhood. Because they kind of have that, like, 90s fantasy art to them a bit. I don't know. Just something about this speaks a little bit to my inner child, I think. Which I have another deck in here that I will show you guys that definitely speaks to my inner child. But there is a lot of depth and spiritual messages to this deck as well. This is another where the guidebook is just really, really fantastic. And definitely worth a read. Like, I love reading through guidebooks just because it is the artist's interpretation of their creation, and I just love seeing other people's perspectives for the cards. So this is another one I highly recommend. Guidebook. Do it. Okay, the next one is a sweet little gentle deck that I adore. This is the White Sage Tarot. This one comes in a tin. It's just a mini little deck. This is the mass market version. I knew the indie was larger, but I love it for its gentleness. This is a perfect deck to pull out if I'm having a rough week. And there's a kitty here. And I honestly just don't want, like, a tarot deck that's going to just hand it to me. I really want something that's going to be a little bit more gentle, a little more nurturing, and I really find that this is the deck for it. Look at this Queen of Cups. Like, I can't get over how cute she is. So I really, really enjoy this deck. It is a pip deck, but even in the minors, you can still understand what's going on. And the imagery, I think, is still pretty close to Rider-Waite when it comes to you kind of just glancing at it and realizing, alright, so that looks like the Six of Cups in some way. It's not a Rider-Waite-Smith clone by any means, of course, obviously, but at least I look at it and I can see those card meanings. But yeah, so that's the White Sage Tarot. the next up is my very first deck. It is the deck I've had the longest. I bought this in, let's see, 2005, I think. And it is in order right now just because I wanted to have that journey of going through it before I wanted to have the journey of going through it in order, because my interpretation of the tarot since I've really read with this deck has changed dramatically. So recently I put it back in order just to flip through it and kind of experience that again. But this is the Revelations Tarot. I've had this deck for so long. This was my introduction to tarot. I was drawn to it because of the stained glass sort of artwork. And the one thing that I now understand is that this is not an ideal deck for a beginner. It has reversal meanings on the cards, and I just felt that it became too intimidating for me in that sense when I was still trying to really learn the tarot, which I'm always learning, but my understanding of it now is way different than it was when I was reading with this deck regularly. So yeah, I should have picked a different deck for my first deck, but that's okay. I love it, and it's dear to my heart because it's kind of home to me. It's the one that I remember the most when it comes to how my journey began with the tarot. So that is the Revelations deck tarot. I have 3 more decks. This one is the one I mentioned that speaks to my inner child. This is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. This is the Moon Crystal deck. This is a Sailor Moon inspired deck, and I love it. This was given to me for my birthday last year by a few dear friends, and I just love it so much. It just, if you guys know, I'm obsessed with Sailor Moon. I have a Sailor Moon tattoo, which I don't know how well you can see, but it's right there on my arm. And this, growing up, this show was just so influential for me, and it meant so much for self-empowerment and just all around nerdiness. So I just adore this deck, and it makes me smile so much every single time I use it. I can't get enough of it. I really can't. So that is the Moon Crystal. Speaking of other decks that are just fun and kind of make me smile, I got this last year because I was like, you know what, I'm finally gonna get this. This is the Halloween Tarot. It is a really fun little deck that is very Rider-Waite-Smith based and for its imagery. And it is just so fun. I love it. Very beginner friendly. You can definitely read with this for sure, easily. If you've noticed, I have modded mine. I trimmed off the borders, which I did not like the white borders. And then there's a remainder of white border here when you trim it. So I just took a Sharpie and blackened that out. And then I edged everything in black. So I really like how it turned out. And I just adore this deck. It is so fun. Admittedly, I don't tend to reach for it really any other time but the fall, but it just really gets me in that Halloween spirit, and it makes me smile. It is so fun. I can't, like, it just makes me think of what Halloween was like when I was little. Like, it's just so fun. Another deck that I think you honestly probably could use for inner child healing as well. Now we're on to the last deck for this video, and that is the Light Seers Tarot. We have all seen this deck. This is the mass market version. I recently was finally given my replacement copy because my previous copy had a lot of discoloration on the back. So I actually gifted my first copy to a good friend of mine, obviously letting her know of the defects, but she was very happy to receive it regardless. She said she didn't mind the imperfections. So she has that one now, and I just didn't want it to go to waste, so I'm happy that I was able to gift it to her, and it still worked out for her. But this deck I really do like, again, just because of the emotion that is in it. I don't know why that's upside down, but it is. Chris Hand's artwork is really beautiful. It's very immersive, and there's a lot of personality to it, I think. I did not get this on Kickstarter because I honestly wasn't entirely sure. I went back and forth with it for a while, but as soon as it became available and easy and I was more comfortable spending, you know, 20 bucks on it versus 70, I ended up just going for it with some holiday money, and I really like it. It's very easy to read with, and I find myself really just kind of diving into it very quickly. She has a wonderful guidebook that has come with it as well. This card, I love this Three of Swords card. This really gets to me because we have all felt this way, for sure. And then, of course, there's the sun right after it. It's just funny, coincidental. But yeah, there's a lot to these cards, and like I said, I find them very immersive, and I really, really enjoy this deck for what it has to offer. It's fantastic. Her artwork is beautiful too. So that is the Lightseers Tarot. So that concludes video 1 for my deck collection. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you in my next video.